Internet Vikings World of Experts.
And today we will be joined by a very special guest, Pierre Lindh from Next iGaming. Pierre has been within the industry for over a decade now. He probably went for almost all verticals of the iGaming, starting with the poker and being with the operators and affiliates, and then switched towards the fun part of the industry, organizing the events and building the community around our very closed and community style industry. So today we invited Pierre to speak about building the community within iGaming industry. Before we jump into that, I would ask if you can tell us what you've noticed within the industry for the past decade, how it has evolved, how it has changed, how it has developed. What are the trends you're noticing these days?
Yeah, it's a great question, Julia. And I joined the iGaming industry, or I've been in and around the iGaming industry since around 2004, and so kind of its early inception days. I mean, the first operators came to life around 1999, 1997. I think it was Bowdogger was one of the first ones, and obviously during the 2000s, it was very much like Wild West at that time. There was not much regulation. The licenses that you could apply for was not very heavily scrutinized, and it was very much a kind of Wild West industry at that time, with a lot of dodgy players and so on and so forth. And during that time, it was very much like the reputable operators, they gained momentum by being seen as reputable, as safe operators, and that's kind of how you were able to grow at that time, because people kind of mistrusted the iGaming operators a lot back then. Like I said, there was a lot of shady affairs happening, and as we have progressed now during the years, Julia, it's like this industry is constantly growing up. It's constantly evolving. And the operators, the major organizations are obviously these days are listed companies. Many of them on the publicly traded markets. They are heavily scrutinized from local regulators and other stakeholders. And so I would say that the biggest change through these 15 years is just the fact that the industry has gone from being a very young, unregulated and kind of wild industry to now being a heavily regulated, mature and grown up industry that is continuing to evolve constantly. So I would say that that's in my eyes the main way that the industry has evolved through the years. It's just maturity, really.
That is a very interesting point, because I haven't heard somebody pointing that out. And I think the perception of the industry from the audience, from the outside, is also changing a lot. As you've said, like even 5-6 years ago, it was still viewed as a dodgy industry, so to say. So Now people are changing their opinion about it. Would you say it's also happening because we are adding more verticals, such as, before it was mainly casinos, but now it's sports betting, it's fantasy games. So it's not only about, let's say, some shady underground games happening.
No, it's a really good question, actually, because especially in the last year or two, the industry is now really entering the mainstream. And something that I've learned a lot from the conversations that I've had in the podcast that I host and so on is it's just the fact that so many reputable brands are now okay to work with the industry, which has never been the case previously, as long as I've been in the industry. And the reason for that mainly is what you just mentioned, is the fact that sports betting particularly is seen as a more acceptable vertical socially and culturally. So to place a sports bet is not something that is frowned upon by most of society. And therefore it's been more kind of embraced by the mainstream kind of media brands and other brands that are now working with the industry. Whereas the casino vertical is still seen as a little bit still seen with a little bit of a suspicion against it, so to say, where most people, they don't play casino, so they kind of assume that if you play casino, then you have to have a problem with it, which is not at all true. Of course, there's been many studies on this, and while of course there is a gambling addiction problem there, and it's really important to point out that there is, and it's something we need to think about, and we need to talk about in how we manage that problem. The problem is a lot smaller than the perception of the problem is, essentially.
Thank you very much. Before we proceed to the second question, I would like to apologize to the audience if you are hearing any background noises. I've escaped the office to escape the construction, but it caught up with me at home as well. So somebody's doing something in the neighborhood.
We are totally fine. And I apologize for mine because my dog is laying below me and he's snoring right now. So if you hear snoring noises, it's definitely not me. It's my dog who's not finding this very interesting conversation as interesting as we find it.
We will rename it to the extra noisy stream today, Pierre. Okay, let's jump into the second question. So you mentioned that the industry has grown enormously throughout the past years. So it's large at the moment, yet it remains quite close. It's sort of a lot of people perceive it from inside and from the outside as a community and as a family industry. So why do you think that is? And as a person who works for iGaming Next, you organize the events, and your events are very much networking oriented and quality content and bringing people together. So what does it take to build a community, and what does it mean to build a community within the iGaming?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would say like this, like for any modern organization, marketing team needs to think about how to build a community. It is a very interesting kind of modern way of marketing an organization is to create a self-sustaining community around your brand or around your company, and in whichever way it is possible. So for us, for example, it is even more important because we are obviously a network driven as iGaming Next. Like we live and we die with our network. And so for us, it is very important to understand how we can create platforms and how we can create networks that can thrive and that can build each other, because that is going to obviously help us attract the delegates that we need to our events or to do business in general through our company. So what is interesting with the iGaming industry specifically is that you point out something interesting, which is that we are very kind of closed industry to some extent. We don't really communicate that much with other tech industries, for example. And Peter Paul de Choy, who is the general manager of the Netherlands Gaming Association, he put it very well, and he said that gambling has no friends, and it's a quite sad expression, and I would argue that this is changing. But his point is that we don't really have many supporters in our industry. We don't like, to some extent, society is not really a great supporter of the online gambling industry. And other industries looks at us with a little bit suspicion. And so Peter Paul makes the argument that gambling has no friends. And that makes it even more important for us to ensure that the community is thriving, and that we are talking to each other, that we are sharing ideas with each other, and that we do what we can in order to predict the future, in order for the industry to continue to thrive. While we have a lot of forces that are working against us. So I would argue that the iGaming industry, if any industry, is absolutely pivotal to create and maintain networks, openness, and thought leadership and dialogue as much as we can for the benefit of everyone. And these conversations, for example, that you guys are hosting, Julia, through Internet Vikings, is a part of that. We host these conversations in order to communicate with the industry, in order to bring up interesting people and to share ideas here. So even for you as Internet Vikings, I think you guys are doing a really cool thing here with these Wednesday sessions.
Thank you very much. It's very pleasant to hear from you. Thank you for the compliment, Pierre. Well, you've mentioned that gambling has no friends, the gaming industry has no friends. Do you think it is to change in the future? Because currently the trend is, you've said that the industry has enormously grown. So the demands to be supported by other industries and other verticals is also huge, be it the technology sector. So we can see already merge with the blockchain and crypto. We can see merge with the artificial intelligence and payment getaways. So before there used to be only specific payment companies who would service only iGaming, and now let's say the generic payment companies are also opening up towards iGaming. I'm not even talking about the numerous events that involve hospitality industry, such as hotels, restaurants. ICE is approaching, so it's conference venues and stuff like that. Do you see the world opening up to iGaming and getting more involved with it?
Yeah, no, I think what is interesting is that there's been this assumption that gambling is always something that society kind of looks with suspicion on. But we don't have to look that far back in order to see that that is not true at all, actually. Because I remember, I mean, I'm Swedish, right? So I remember in 2004, in Sweden, you always name the Christmas present of the year. So like the country, it's like on the front newspaper. What is going to be the Christmas present of the year this year in Sweden? And there's always one Christmas present that is named the Christmas present of the year. And 2004, it was a poker set. Okay, and I remember very well at that time that every man and his dog, my father's friend, everyone was playing poker at that time. It was during the height of the poker boom, and during that time, poker was very much seen as almost like a sport. We really looked up to the professional poker players at that time on the TV, watching WSOP, the World Championships, when Chris Moneymaker, this regular guy, just sat down and won the whole thing, and it was like this magical moment. And it had all these really crazy characters that were these like big professional poker players, and obviously Rounders in the end of the 90s was a really big movie with Matt Damon that kind of popularized poker. James Bond was playing poker in Casino Royale. So at that time, poker and gambling from that perspective was very much seen as something that was very cool. And it's truth be told, I mean, poker is a very cool game, and you learn a lot by playing poker. Like this is my background, and you learn how to deal with very like stressful situations. And when you're a group of friends playing poker together, it's a very stressful situation, and you kind of expose yourself to some extent, because if you have really bad luck, then you see how people react very differently. Some people get very angry, so it's a really good game to really develop your character, I would say, from us, and to grow up to some extent through playing poker. So long answer short here, I definitely think that there is a way for us to be seen as more acceptable. And for most people who do gamble, they understand very well why they do it, and it brings value to their life. So it's just a matter of trends come and go in society. And in the last couple of years, we've been in a phase where we've had a lot of resistance in general. It's been very aggressive marketing, and so especially in the Northern European countries, so the society's kind of turned against our industry a little bit. But trends come and go, and I think the industry has realized the mistakes that it's done. And I do think that as we look forward, the industry will make more and more of an effort for the society at large to see more value in just gambling as an entertainment activity.
Thank you very much. That's a very interesting angle to look at it. Well, you've said that trends come and go. So my next question would be, I know that IT and tech is not your focus, but what do you think, well, iGaming exists purely in the digital space, so it's highly dependable on technology. So me working for a tech company, for a tech supplier, of course, I'll bring this question up. How do you think technology and tech innovation has shaped the industry throughout the years, how it has changed, and what role it is playing within the industry at this point?
Yeah, a great question, Juliana. And I want to this. I can see that Kato de Sofarano, a good friend of ours, is writing here that crypto wants to be our friends in the gaming industry, and that's a good point. And that leads into the answer of this question as well, I think, which is when it comes to technology advancements, it's difficult not to talk about crypto, Web3, the metaverse, NFTs. I'm a little bit biased here, I must say, because I'm always very curious about new technologies, and you never know what's going to happen with emerging technologies. It could very much be that it turns out to not be of anything of substance, but I really like to play with ideas, and I think as we look forward, technology-wise, that Web3 projects will play a bigger and bigger part in the development of our industry as well, and also just for the through blockchain technology and through the concept of the blockchain, you can bring so much more trust to your gambling operation by basically making your operation much more transparent. And that's what we as an industry need, is more transparency and trust into our product. So I would say that definitely blockchain technology. Then there's this ever reoccurring question of is the metaverse relevant to our industry? The metaverse is such a hype word right now that everyone is just using it. But I think not many people actually understand yet where the technology is heading and how it is relevant to our industry. But one example that is happening right now in regards to the metaverse is that there is a casino which is live within a metaverse game called Decentraland. So Decentraland right now is the biggest metaverse that is currently active, and within this metaverse there is a casino which is live, where you can play poker within that metaverse. And I can't remember exactly now, but this casino that is in this virtual metaverse is making incredible amount of money, basically millions and millions of dollars on a yearly basis. And so the use case is already there for the metaverse and for the gambling industry to take advantage of this kind of new movement, if you will. And to say that the metaverse is irrelevant is to just ignore the truth, I believe, at this stage. Because again, there are already projects that are very profitable within the metaverse. Same on the NFT side of things. There is a really interesting project that is called Run. So it's a CED Run, which is basically virtual horse racing. That is also valued. I think Run is now valued to $1 billion as an organization, and this is NFT/blockchain based project, which is really like next generation gambling. It's something we would have never thought about in the gambling industry, because it's come from a totally different angle, so to say. Which is very interesting, and I know that there are a lot more of those projects that are currently being developed. We are hosting our event in New York now in a couple of weeks, and there is another speaker there that we have from a project that's called Mecca Fight Club, which is this really funny chicken cockfighting NFT game, which is like I can't even explain it. It's very strange, but that's kind of a next generation gambling product that's based on the NFTs and blockchains as well. So I would say that definitely that is a space to keep an eye on as well, because that's a potentially disruptive technology to our traditional iGaming industry, because the gambling products looks very different from what we are offering in the traditional gambling industry. So I would say that's definitely one. And then, of course, connectivity is really important as well as we go forward. And that's obviously relevant to you guys at the Internet Vikings. But looking at the growth of live casino in the last couple of years, that can very much be attributed to connectivity. The fact that mobile connectivity is getting stronger means that companies like Evolution and Playtech and other live providers are able to reach more customers. And the more connectivity improves, the better products can be offered as well by the likes of Evolution and Playtech. So definitely connectivity, the better connectivity that is being developed, the more our industry will evolve as well. So those are, to me, are two examples, I think, of future technology.
Thank you very much. Then I'll ask a short last question because I know
Yes.
I've overstayed my welcome asking 20 minutes from you, and we're running now at 23 minutes, derived from yours. Because we as a tech provider, we always stress that we need to be ahead of the trends, because when the trend appears within the operators, we already need to be there ready to supply and to adapt to the changes. So the tricky question would be, what do you think? Is the iGaming industry shaping tech, or the tech is shaping iGaming industry? It's sort of what was first, the chicken or the egg question.
The chicken or the egg, exactly. The chicken or the egg. That's a very good question. Is the technology shaping the iGaming industry? No, I think it's the technology that's shaping the iGaming industry. Absolutely, would be my answer to that. Our industry is not big enough to shape technology. Would be my, but I mean, saying that at the same time, the iGaming industry is at the forefront of many technologies as well. I mean, payment you mentioned, for example. Mm-hmm. And so we shouldn't underestimate ourselves, and also affiliate marketing front in general. I think there's a lot of innovation happening there. But at large, I would say that it's the technology that is shaping the iGaming industry. That would be that would be my
once again.
Yes. But it's a great question. I'll think more about that, actually.
Thank you very much, Pierre.
Do not miss our future podcasts. Subscribe now.